right, so crazily enough, it is almost the end of the first week, and I haven't taught you all since Monday, but I'll be teaching today and tomorrow. This calendar right here, which you all have access to, does have a list of every event that we're having. Tomorrow, right at 9 a.m., we're going to do something what's called a retro. Every single technology company does utilize this, so we'll get you started and show you what a retro is. And then at 10 a.m., I'm going to be giving a Beyond Tech, which is our soft skills curriculum, how to give and receive feedback. These are things that people expect you to know and to have once you get into the software engineering field. But for today, I have quite a few topics that I need to cover. I figured I would just review everything for the first 4 days just to show that we're all exactly on the same page. Maybe hearing something like my explanation of Git and GitHub, in addition to Josh's explanation, will help you understand it a little bit better. And I'm going to try to tackle every single problem in the first hour and a half. And we're going to just try to do that together. So let's kind of get started. We're going to talk quickly about two things. You'll eventually kind of see like just how much we've learned in the past 4 days and how many of those skills that you didn't know on day one, sorry. But that's not you. How many skills you actually know. So let's go over quickly how to do, some command line stuff. And then we'll talk about like fundamentals of Python and JavaScript. And then we'll solve each one of these challenges using Git and GitHub. We'll do one in Python, we'll do one in JavaScript. We'll just translate back and forth really quick. My goal here is to be finished with hopefully all 5 of these challenge in both languages by like 10. It's something to shoot for. Let's see what we can do. All right, so I'm here on the desktop, and who can explain to me what the difference between a text editor and a terminal is, and what you would use for both, like why you would use each one?
A text editor is like you write code,
yeah,
like Word editor,
yep.
whatever. The terminal is like connected to your machine,
yep.
So like you can run command, those folders.
Sure, yeah, definitely. So we've got this, so just for the recording again, we got VS Code here. This is our text editor and our terminal combo. A text editor is exactly what Bobby said. It's just a place where you write text and write code. You can do this in Microsoft Word. I have done a Google interview in Google Sheets, which is Google Docs, which is kind of interesting, but it's not really great because there's no syntax highlighting and you can't run code. But all of our code is going to be written in here on this top portion. And on the bottom portion, the terminal is a non-GUI, non-graphical user interface. It's just a way to interact with our computer. We can double click, we can drag stuff, or we can interact using these commands. So I'm here on the desktop, and I want to create a directory called challenges. I'm going to just kind of go around the room, ask each person a question, and then let me know what I'm supposed to type. How do I make a directory called challenges?
mkdir.
mkdir. Challenges, perfect. So this mkdir is a terminal command that just makes a directory. And how do I list out everything? ls. And you can kind of see, I've created a folder. It's called challenges. And how do I change from where I am right now to that challenges folder? cd, and then the name of the folder. And you can kind of see I've changed from where I was, which was the desktop, and now I'm inside of challenges. Next, I want to create 2 files in one line. Aaron, how do I create one called JavaScript example.js and Python example.py? Touch. And then those 2 files. So I'll do javascript.js and python.py. I want to list out everything once more. ls. How do I open this entire folder in VS Code in this current window?
Code dot, will it open everything up?
Yep, so code dot will open up a new window. And if you have like a window like this and you don't want to open a new one and close this one again, it's just add a -r. So you'll notice that when I press F3, like there's only one window open right now. And if you see right here, I've got that javascript.js and the python.py. I'm going to split the screen to the right by right-clicking and hitting split right. So I can just have both files side by side. Make this a little bit smaller. And we're just going to go back to Algebra 1. We're going to compare these 2 languages side by side really quick. just to make sure we're all on the same page. I want to create a first name variable in both languages. So, Narayan, how do I do it in JavaScript?
If it's not going to be a constant, we let.
Yeah, let first name.
Or the name if you're going to initialize.
Sure. Just like that. So there's two ways in JavaScript to declare a variable, and we're kind of going back to like Algebra 1 back in 7th grade. I'm setting a variable and making it equal to something. So instead of typing the string Narayan every single time, I'm just typing the variable first name. And then the value every single time that I type in first name is going to be Narayan. Now, there's two different types of variables inside of the new version of JavaScript. One is going to be called let in the front, and one's going to have const in the front. The let in the front is for something that could change. So Narayan, halfway through his life, could say, no, I don't want to be Narayan anymore. I want to be known as whatever. He can change his name, and thus he uses the let thing in the front. When it's something that doesn't change, you put const in the front. So const would be something like force of gravity. We know that force of gravity is 9.8 or something like that. 9.8 meters per s squared. Yeah. So this is an example of something that can change. That's where we use the let. And the const is for something that doesn't change. That's why we use the const. One thing that you'll notice that I did on lines 1 and 2, these variable names are what's called camel case. Camel case because every single new word has a capital letter inside of it. You could also do underscore, and this will run just as well. The convention for JavaScript, most people like to see this camel case like this. There is a hump in the middle of each camel. That's why the capital letter is there. In Python, we can do the same thing. First name equals Narayan, and force of gravity equals 9.8. These two are exactly the same thing. But if I wanted to make this a constant, how do I write constant variables inside of Python? All caps, force of gravity. So I'm going to try as much as possible just to keep this left and right. The number 1 on the left is the exact same thing as number 1 on the right side. So we've got first name, force of gravity. You'll notice that this type of typing is snake case. Snake case being a snake is really, really long. Every single time you have a new word, I'm going to throw an underscore in the middle. This is how I do constants. The reason why we're teaching 2 different languages, I mean, not only to differentiate ourselves from other boot camps, is because you're most likely not going to be working in these languages forever. So when I was going through boot camp in 2014, so what, 5 years ago, Ruby was the hotness. Like everybody wanted Ruby, and JavaScript was dead. Like nobody wanted anything to do with JavaScript. It was very difficult to use. Fast forward 5 years later, Ruby is dead, and Python has taken over, and JavaScript is the most popular thing forever. I can say with decent certainty for the next 3 to 5 years that Python and JavaScript will be the most popular languages, but after that, nobody knows. Everybody wants job security, and yeah, hopefully these will be around for the rest of your career, but likely not. You'll most likely need to learn, I don't know, Java, C++, maybe Ruby, maybe Elixir, maybe Phoenix. You'll need to learn new things. And if you're super married to one language forever like I was, it's very challenging to learn something new. So I learned Ruby in 2014, and I worked in it until I still work in it. So it was hard for me to change my mindset on like, I don't want to learn anything besides this one language. So I want to get it real out of the way. I want to do you all the service of like, it's the same thing. We're going to write pseudocode in just a second, and we're going to translate into 2 languages. It's just syntax, but the programming concepts are identical. That's why we're trying to do this. Let's see. Math in both languages is exactly the same. So if I wanted to do 1 + 1, it's exactly what it looks like. Also, if you see me doing shortcuts that you don't understand, let me know. Like, how did I just do this a bunch of times? Or copy this line? Great question. All right, so there's a lot of shortcuts built into VS Code and built into the Sublime package that I taught everybody. The way that I copy an entire line is I just put my mouse anywhere inside of this line, press Command C, and then Command V will copy the entire line, which is really nice. I can move entire lines up and down without like copying, pasting, and deleting by holding Command, Control, and up and down, and I can move the entire line, which is nice. Math isn't exactly the same in both languages. So plus, minus, times, and divide are all identical. So if I wanted to do 5 divided by 5, it just looks like this. Somebody tell me what's going on, what the result of 5 mod 2 is. And again, it is going to be the same in both languages. 2.5. 1 and 2.5. So which one is it?
Oh, mod.
Mod. Yeah. So I've got line 7 here. If you're going to say 1, I agree with you. 1 is the correct answer. So we have every mathematical operation. I'm just going to throw this up here for now. This is all from your notes. This is really hard to read. So we've got addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Inside of Python, if you were to run 3 divided by 2, you do get decimals in return. If I wanted to run the same thing inside of JavaScript, and I do 3 divided by 2, I also get a decimal as well. So this one everybody knows. Python has something pretty cool with floor division, which is double slash. So if I do If I do 3 divided by 2, I get 1.5. But if I want to round down, I do 3 /2. I'm just going to round down. So whatever is evenly divisible, but I take that whole number rounded down rather than rounding up. But you also have this modulus operator. I think the reason behind why they have the modulus operator is largely because there's a lot of math that can be done using the remainder of something. So the modulus operator basically says, find me the remainder of 5 divided by 2. So 2 goes into 5 2 times. There's 1 as a remainder. So when I run 5 mod 2, I do get that 1 as a remainder. Math is simple. You have a calculator with your new Python interpreter. Let's see. What is a string, Christian? Collection of characters, but what is the key with the collection of characters? What makes it a string? Okay, Holly?
I don't understand.
Nick?
I mean, well, it's an ordered series of characters, but it's also like a sentence.
It could also be a sentence, Bobby.
It's a sequence.
It's also a sequence, Christina. When I look at this, is this a string?
It's the quotation marks.
It's the quotation marks. It's literally anything enclosed in single or double quotes. So is this a string and is this a string? Not everything I ask is a trick question. So literally anything wrapped in a string, in a quotation, like single or double, it just has to be consistent, is going to be a string. Now, if I have apostrophes, how do I handle that? So John's car. And everything kind of blows up here. So Bobby said I could do a backslash. What does the backslash do here?
It like indicates this is in the string and not. Well, it can be for different reasons, but a backslash indicates like a special character.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, backslash basically says the next thing that's coming out is definitely going to break this original one. So I want to escape it. Just saying like, that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, anybody else?
Double quotes.
Yeah, I'm just going to put double quotes on the outside of this. And both are legitimate. You can do whichever one that you prefer. What I've seen is that if you're going to just have a straight string like this, then just use a single quote. If you're going to interpolate, and what is the act of interpolation, Nick?
Inserting
variables into your string as what they are, not the word.
Yep, pretty much. So interpolation is I've got a string and I'm going to insert some variable inside of it. So everyone has received letters like this. If you've ever received any sort of mail from the VA or from any bank, it says hello and then your first name, right? That's string interpolation. They're grabbing your name out of a database along with 50,000 other people and just shoving it inside there. So let's say I want to say hello to Narayan inside of Python. Holly, how do I do that without saying like hello Narayan? I want to get rid of this. I do have a print, good. But I want to interpolate this string.
A dollar sign.
A dollar sign.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's an F.
There's an F. Where does that F go?
At the beginning.
Begin.
Or I mean, I'm sorry, before hello. And after the no, before the quotation.
So the F goes here.
Yeah, and then inside of it, after hello, put a dollar.
Put a
No,
dollar
I'm
sign.
sorry. Yeah, dollar sign.
Okay.
And then the brackets.
First name like this. Let's see if this works. If it doesn't work, then we'll come back to it. So Python, I run all of my Python files using Python in the front. I run all of my JavaScript files with Node in the front. All my Git commands have Git in the front. Python, python.py, and it says hello $Narayan. So you don't actually need the $. I can actually just do F in the front for formatted string, and then interpolate it inside of these curly braces here. So hello Narayan comes out here. But Holly, same thing. How do I do it inside of JavaScript?
Console.log.
Console.log.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do backticks and then the $.
Back.
Right. I want to
And
run.
hello.
Oh yeah, you're right. So I'm going to run the same thing. Node, javascript.js, hello Narayan. We're all set. These two things, left and right, on the exact same lines, are identical.
How come you don't put semicolons after naming a variable or?
It's fine. You could do both. Yeah. So the question was, why don't you have to do semicolons anymore? So semicolons used to be required inside of JavaScript. Like in the older versions of JavaScript, or if you see like older code online, you're definitely going to see a semicolon at the end. And that the general thought behind that was, I'm putting a semicolon so that I know when my thought ends. So if I say I'm going to declare a first name variable, I'm going to say let first name equal Narayan, and then I'm done. I'm done with my thought at that point. It still runs without it now to make it more, because everybody's working in almost every language these days. You're as an engineer, you're going to be working with at least 3 to 5 languages on average. Imagine if one place didn't had to use semicolons everywhere, it kind of sucks. So they got rid of that. It still works with it though.
Isn't there an instance where if you don't put a semicolon, it'll cause an error still? Yeah, it's like I don't remember if it's illegal function or something. It's still a case. I think.
Maybe I have not come into that yet, but if we do, I'll let you know. Henry.
On the interpolation, were you saying that double quotes or single quotes is preferred, or does it matter?
So if you're going to interpolate something, I generally prefer to have double quotes. I believe it works with singles as well, but you're not writing code. Let me see, just run this python.py, it still works. So you're not writing code you're writing code for the computer to interpolate, to run, but you're also mostly writing code for other people. So if you see a double quote right away, it just is a hint saying what's about to come is I'm about to interpolate something. Versus if I have single quotes, I generally know that it's just going to be a regular string. So it's just like a roadmap, a warning sign. Okay. I'm not going to go over loops and conditional logic. I believe we're going to be doing that with all of our challenges. So let's go ahead and bring this up and just start tackling some challenges. So I want to remove both these files. So I'm going to start from the front again. How do I remove both those files? So somebody help me out. RM, and then the name of the file. So RM, and then JavaScript, Python. If you look, everything is gone now.
Did you put both of those on the same line as you did with the other ones?
Good question. The question was, can I delete 2 at once? Let's find out. So touch 1.txt, touch 2.txt. I created 2 files, 1.txt and 2.txt, and I'm going to remove both. You can do both. Cool. All right, so I'm going to try to finish all 5 of these by 10:10. You're all going to help me. We'll get as far as we can. So 99 bottles in Python. So who can tell me a little bit about Git and GitHub, what the difference is, and just kind of talk to me about Git in general. I'll go with the chat.
Git is on the machine, the version control.
Okay. Okay. And what is GitHub?
GitHub is online and I think it's connected to Git, and it's a way for storing repositories externally.
Yep. So he's got it right. So Git is essentially just version control software. It's how do I keep track of different things. The concept is not really new. If you take a look at any sort of Google Doc, you'll see that the last edit was 2 days ago. And when I click on this right here, Google automatically keeps track of different versions of stuff for me. So if I ever wanted to go back to the very beginning when I first started writing this in 2016, you can kind of see, I can jump here, and you'll see what the version on November 6th in 2016 looked like. You can also restore this version. It keeps track of different times that you've updated it. Now, the nice part about this is that the nice part about this particular like Google Sheets is that it automatically saves for you, but Git unfortunately doesn't do that. How nice would it be if you were, typing your final paper and then you didn't lose everything at 12 o'clock in the morning and have to type it between 12 and 6 a.m., which has happened, I'm sure, to somebody somewhere multiple times. So what we're going to be using Git for version control. That's an industry standard, and GitHub is literally just a company. So Git and GitHub aren't mutually exclusive things. GitHub is just a company that took advantage of the name Git, and they are just the biggest player in the game right now. So GitHub, I think, was bought by Microsoft, so they are owned by Microsoft for $7.5 billion. I did meet the people who created GitHub back in 2015, and they finished writing GitHub in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. And they're like, yeah, we're on drugs the entire time. I just went outside, they were smoking, I just said, hey, thanks for your presentation. Like, how quickly did you write GitHub? Like, how is that possible? Like, a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs, but they did finish it, and I'm pretty sure somebody at that company is riding off in a yacht right now. So GitHub is not the only player in the game. It's the biggest player in the game, but there's also ones called GitLab, which a lot of people are starting to move towards because GitHub was bought by Microsoft. And there's another one called Bitbucket. These are both alternatives to GitHub, but GitHub is definitely by far the biggest one. If you're looking for a full remote job, I know that GitLab and GitHub are both fully remote companies. We can talk more about that at a later point. So GitHub, I would highly recommend that because it's going to be following you for your entire career. You can kind of see I started coding in 2014. All this green here is more or less what recruiters are looking for and what engineering managers are looking for. So they're saying, like, how often is this person on GitHub? And you can kind of see when I started working, like, I only code Monday through Friday. You can, like, there are certain days that are more productive than others, but you want this to be as green as you possibly can. So every single day, try to open a pull request. Every single day, try to do something on GitHub to give yourself that credit. Make sure you get yourself a nice clear headshot as well. All right, so let's go through all of those Git commands for this 99 bottles right over here. So first things first, what's the first thing that I do? Henry, you fork. What does forking do? Yeah, what does forking do?
It basically pulls the repository and puts it onto your GitHub.
Yep. So essentially, imagine 99 bottles is a repository. Let's say they, I don't know, the example I generally use is, let's say they find the original Holy Grail or something like that. It's deep in some place. They find the original Holy. This is not a good idea. They find some ancient book, like the original ancient book, whatever ancient book that may be to you. They find the ancient book, and you want to make changes to it. Do you write on the original? No. So the idea here is I never want to touch the original, like holy book or the ancient book or whatever it is for you. But I want to make a photocopy of it onto my own. Like I want to make a photocopy and then I want to make some edits to it. So that's what forking is going to allow you to do. So forking removes it from the India Platoon 99 bottles into, I've already forked it, into my account. You can kind of see it's got this cute little graphic. It's going to make a photocopy. And you'll see that after I've forked it, it no longer lives at India Platoon 99 bottles, which is like the one source of truth for everybody here, but it lives at J Young 217 99 bottles. So I'm no longer, when I make any changes, I'm no longer altering the original India Platoon, but instead this photocopy version. From there, Karen, how do I download this?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a green button, there's a clone right here. And I'm going to clear this out by typing in clear and pressing enter. And how do I clone from the internet? What does clone mean? Don't know.
Make a copy.
Yeah, I'm just making a copy. So again, forking is the act of making a photocopy from the original into your own username. But cloning is the act of downloading from the internet onto your machine. So what is the command to clone something? Git clone, and then you paste it in. So anytime you type in a git command, you immediately just put a git in the front. All right, so I've cloned it down. I've got 99 bottles over here. And do you want to do this in Python or JavaScript? One. JavaScript, okay. Let's take a look at this. We all know the 99 bottle song. And what I want to do is I want to write out pseudocode, which is something I have not seen very much of, so that I can translate this into regular code very quickly. So pseudocode and regular code are very different things. Pseudocode is just human readable code, like your thought process on how you'd solve this problem. And just like, I mean, it doesn't really apply these days with GPS on your phones, but if you've ever tried to, like, when we were kids, when we were much younger, we had to take out the paper maps and like draw out the entire route that we would drive for longer road trips. And if you didn't do that, you'd be completely screwed. It's trying to solve a problem without having a clear idea of where to go is going to screw you. You're going to be sitting there for a long time versus if I just spent an extra few seconds doing all of the pseudocode up front. That will guide your development for the rest of the time. So I've got the 99 bottle song. I know that I'm going to be starting at some number. It's going to go down to 2, and then something else is going to change. So I'm just going to start writing out some pseudocode. So I'm just going to write stuff for me. I'm going to write steps, and they're going to be executed in this particular order. 1, create a function called bottle song. Bottle song takes in an argument called starting number. Number 2, I know that I have, like, this is more or less the same thing each time until you get to a certain point. So I know that I'm going to be running something over and over and over again. Whenever I know that I'm running something over and over and over again, what kind of programming concept am I going to be using? A loop. So I know I need to create a loop of some sort that starts at this number and goes down to, I think the limit is 2, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like 2, once you get down to 2, you have to start hard coding stuff like this. So I'm going to create a loop that starts at starting number and goes down until 2, and then 2a. inside this loop, print, I'm just going to copy and paste it. Print the following. All right, so I've got 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. I see that these two are the exact same thing. So I'm going to highlight 99, press Command D, so that I have multiple cursors now. Delete this, and just, I know I'm going to interpolate something, so I know it's going to be starting number. And then this one is starting number -1, because we started with 99. This one says 98, so I know I'm going to be doing starting number -1. So I create a function called bottle song. It's going to take in some sort of number. I'm going to create a loop that starts at some number. Usually it's going to be 99. And I'm going to create a loop that goes down until the number 2. I'm going to print this thing inside of it. And once I get down to number 2, I think it's 2 bottles of beer on the wall, 2 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around, 1 bottle of beer on the wall. So I can probably just, for the simplest answer, and because we want to finish 5 more problems in 30 minutes, I'm just going to hard code the entire final bit. So I'm just going to do number 3. Once you get down to 2, print 2 bottles of beer on the wall, 2 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around, 1 bottle of beer, and then I think that's pretty much it. So the idea here, I mean, I've done this a lot, so like my pseudocode comes out faster. But the idea here is I want to type out as much in English and just have that clear roadmap so that when I actually type out the code, I know exactly what I'm about to type. So we're just going to go one by one, and we're going to hopefully see this one work. So create a function called bottle song. Done. I like it. Bottle song takes in an argument called starting number. Let's say that it equals 99 in the case that you don't pass in anything. Most of the time you have 99 bottles of beer. That's the name of the song. Number 2, create a loop that starts at the starting number and goes down until 2. So I'm not worried about the implementation when I write my pseudocode. I just know that I need some sort of loop. What loop do you think would be best, Christine?
For loop.
For loop. So tell me what to type.
4. I equals 0, or actually that has to be 0.
Okay.
And then I is less than 0.
So
I is greater than 0.
I is greater than 0. So it says create a loop that starts at starting number and goes down until you see the number 2.
Greater than equals to 0. You're going to go all the way down to 0.
I'm not going all the way down to 0.
Okay, so you said you're going down to 2?
Yep.
So 2. And then I minus minus.
Yep. So the way that for loops work in the case, just to catch everybody up, is a for loop is a type of programming concept that I want to do something over and over again. So the way that this one is set up is, this is my starting condition. So I'm saying that I'm going to set a variable equal to I, and I is equal to some sort of starting condition. Usually it's 0. If you could also do this, like if you want to go bottom up, it's 0. If you want to go top down, it's going to be starting with the top number. Starting condition, when your stopping condition is, and what's happening every single time. So I'm going to run this loop starting with 99, going all the way, I'm going to start with 99, go all the way until I reach the number 2, and then each time I'm going to decrement. So I've tackled number 1, tackled number 2. Inside the loop, print the following, this whole thing here. I'm just going to copy and paste. I know that I'm going to need some sort of console log. So console.log. The starting number of bottles of beer on the wall, starting number of bottles of beer. We'll put a new line there. Take one down, pass it around, starting number -1 bottles of beer on the wall. once I get here, I just want to see if this works. So let's see if this gives me what I expect. For the sake of arguments, what's that? Oh, here you're right. So I want to take small little chunks at a time to make sure that this runs. List out everything. Where did I go for? Bobby, how do I change into 99 bottles and run this file?
CD 99.
Mm-hmm.
No, 99.
Cool. All right, so this is not doing what I expect.
You're not neat. You should have I inside of.
Yep. So there is a bug here. You'll see that 99 bottles and it's just running forever. It's running, 98 times or 97 times. But Christian, you notice that I have starting number here, and what should I have instead? Just the number I.
Also, when you're passing in starting number equals 99. If you don't pass anything to that function, it'll automatically put 99. You can still pass something to that function.
Correct. Yeah. So that's a good point. So what I've got here is I've got a function called bottle song. The function takes in parameters some of the time. So I'm passing in starting number. If I don't pass in anything, I automatically hard code it to 99. I can also just write 5. And because I'm passing in 5 as starting number, it's not going to hard code to 99. When I run it again, you'll see that I started with 5, I've gotten down to 3, and then I stopped. All right, so I've done number 1, I've done number 2, number 2A, and now I'm on to number 3. Once you get down to 2, print this entire thing. So I'm just going to copy that. After I get down to 2, which is at the end of the for loop, I'm just going to console.log 2 bottles of beer on the wall, 2 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. Oh, wait. This is getting a little annoying. I'm not a big fan of this. So I don't want to keep pressing delete a bunch of times. So I feel like I can do this in one go. I notice that there's a bunch of comments. I'm going to highlight by doing Command D. So I highlight the first one. If you see anything that's exactly the same, it will highlight the next 2, and until you're done. I'm going to delete it, put a \n, and I think this should just run. So those types of shortcuts that save you a lot of time over the course of a day and over the course of your career. So that's Command D to have multiple cursors. Am I missing anything? I think I'm all right. Let's see if this one works. So I'm going to clear it out, list everything out, and run node 99 bottles. It's huge. .js. 5 bottles of beer on the wall, 5. We get to 2, 1 bottle of beer on the wall, 1 bottle of beer, and we just hard coded the rest. So I wanted to do the 99 one. I just remove the 5 here, and then it will print out the 99 bottles song. So using this, I mean, it's not a perfect solution. There's definitely more optimal ways and more like cool programming ways so that I don't need to worry about hard coding this much stuff. But I just wanted to walk you through my thought process of how I generally tackle these problems. Like I generally write out every single step I'm going to do, and then try to translate that into code really quickly. And once you have this, I can actually just jump into the bottle song over here. This is all wrong. So I'm going to highlight a bunch of these by highlighting the first one, Command D, replacing the whole thing with a %. It's the same thing. Create a function called bottle song. Bottle song. Bottle song takes an argument called starting number. Starting number. I know I have to change a few things like that, and I'm still going to do equals 99. Create a loop that starts at starting number and goes down until 2. So I don't know the implementation, probably something like a range, but it's like, because I have all of these steps here, I'm just going to just translate into each individual language. There's different implementation, but it's more or less the same. All right, I see people fading, so let's try to push this up to GitHub. and then we'll take a quick break. All right. So Git is version control software. GitHub is where you're pushing it to. It's just a company that hosts Git repositories. You can kind of think of it as the Dropbox for code. It's essentially what it is. So I don't want to be operating off the master branch, because even though I've made a photocopy and it lives at my version, like I still want to say like, this is trial number 1. Imagine if I play a lot of zombie games. So imagine it's like the end of the world and you're like some sort of super genius from the CDC and you're the only person left. You're going to have to say like, this is trial number 1, trial number 2, trial number 3. You want to label the work that you've done. So I'm going to check out to a branch. So I'm not operating off the master. How do I check out to a branch? Yep. Yeah, I generally have like John's solution. So what I've done here is the master branch is kind of like the source of truth at all times. Like everyone agrees that the master branch is the most up-to-date version. But I made some changes that I'd like to propose to be put into master. So I'm going to say, this is my proposal. It's named John's solution. And I want to take a look at what I've done. When I run git status, I see all the files that have changed, what's different between my branch and the master branch, which I originally downloaded it from. You'll notice that these are red. And you can kind of think of this as a giant box. So if you were to ship a box off to somebody that you care about, you have a giant empty box, and you're going to put stuff inside of it. This is what's called your staging area. So these red changes are things that you've changed, but you've not actually put inside of your box yet. How do I add things to the box? To git add, I just want the JavaScript one, so I'm going to be very specific with that. And when I run git status again, you'll notice that before it was red, and now it is green. The green means that you actually added it inside of this box. So I feel pretty comfortable with my JavaScript solution. I feel like I want to push it up to GitHub. How do I, at this point, I want to close the box, I want to seal the box, and I want to write a little message on there as well. So what is the command to seal the box and write a little message? Yep. I'm going to do git commit, the -m. The -m is for the message. So if you want to say like, thinking of you, here's 99 bottles of beer to the friend that you like. I'm going to write added a solution in JavaScript with pseudocode. You want your commit messages to be descriptive because you want to know exactly what happened at that particular bit of time. There is a nice website called Commit Logs from Last Night, which kind of go across the internet and find some messages. Now, this stuff is not terribly useful. It's funny, and I will admit, you will do this, and I have done this many times. But in the case that we ever really needed to go back and change something, what does fixing target shit actually mean, right? So you want to write a descriptive message so it's like, added a solution to JavaScript with pseudocode. You know exactly what you've done at this particular bit of time. Yeah.
With the convention as far as length, posting that to GitHub,
you don't want to write it. You don't want to write an essay, but you want it to be as brief as possible with as much description as possible. This is nothing. Like I had to click on it and literally read what you did in order to understand what happened here. But this one is just add in. You can just write JS solution with pseudocode and be done with it. So git status allows you to see what you've changed and what has been changed so far. Git add allows you to add things to your box that you want to push up to GitHub. And then we have git commit. This git commit right here is basically saying, I'm going to put my stamp of approval on it. I'm going to write this message to you. I'm going to seal up the box. All right, when I run git status again, you'll notice that 99bottles.py is still there, but the changes I made to 99bottles.js are like already put inside the box. Now I want to take the box to the post office and I want to ship it. So what's happening here, this git push is basically equivalent to upload. So I want to upload from my machine onto 99 models. Yes.
If you not the origin or the branch, like,
Yeah.
So if you were doing the math, you would have to branch your own.
Generally speaking, we still do.
Like,
We still do.
okay. So like every time I push the git, I just push like git push.
You probably have a version that allows you to do that, but I would highly recommend doing git push origin and then where did I push it? Git push origin and then your branch name. So it's essentially saying like ship it off. That's essentially what git push is doing. Ship it off. But doing git push origin John solution is saying ship it off to this particular location under this particular name. So it's more descriptive than just saying just ship it.
Where is origin first?
Great question. I didn't want to get to that, but since somebody asked. So the last command I just ran, I press up and I get the last one. Origin refers to something in particular. So when I run git remote-v, origin, when it is a variable that pushes to here. Now there is multiple places you can push. You can push to origin. You could add something to push to Amazon Web Services. You can add another place you can push to go to India Platoon. Convention is wherever you downloaded it from, wherever you cloned it from, that's the origin. So I'm pushing to this particular place under the branch John solution. And if I jump back to this page, you'll notice at the very top, I have pushed it. It used to live on my machine and now it's up on GitHub. I'm going to open a pull request. And what a pull request is, it's a way it's basically saying I've made changes that I think should be put inside master. So I read some book, I wanted to make some changes, so here's my proposal with the changes. You can accept them or not accept them. I'm going to ignore all of this. And essentially now we're back on India Platoon. I've got 7 pull requests. So this basically says 7 people say that they have things that they'd like to merge into master. So I am able to quickly look through here, click on the files change and see the code that you actually wrote. And this is all the things that we had before. All right, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 10:05.